Oh, hi. If you're one of my subscribers or just happen to stumble in one of my videos, you might notice that in my channel there is this mini series which has a title Seafarers Stranded in Manila. Now you might be wondering if how did I come up with that sentence and the story behind it. So our topic for today is about that. I will be discussing the 4Ws, the what, when, why, where, and how did I ended up with those sentences as the title of this our miniseries. I will be narrating to you the story behind it in a timeline manner, so stay tuned and keep watching. Hello, my name is Sir Jeff and welcome back to our YouTube channel, Accidental Seaman, a Seafarers Dokyu blog. Before we proceed in our today's topic, please allow me to say thank you for all the supports by watching and following my videos here on my YouTube channel, especially to all of my subscribers, particularly to Mr. Michael David Oiko and Miss Sheila Buok. They are the earliest two of my viewers who did leave a nice comment in one of my videos. Receiving comments like this encourages me to do more better content for you guys. And to you who are now watching, you may follow me by clicking the subscribe button below so that you won't miss any of our future updates. I would also like to mention the fantastic people living in this boarding house in which I am now currently staying the last 2 months, together with my neighbor and roommates who are also seafarers, especially to those who did participate in our mini-series, which was the Seafarers Stranded in Manila. As you all know that we are only an amateur in this field of YouTube blogging, and so I considered my subscribers as my motivation in continuing creating these films. But these sailors who are involved in all of my videos are my inspiration and my early support. Despite the tough times we had, they are the one whom I get some advice, my earliest participants and my audience. Most of these men, some doesn't want to be seen in the camera, but I want them to know that they always have a special place in my heart. So thank you for being a wonderful sports, mga sir. Salamat. Moving on, the topic that I want to share to you today is the story on how I did ended up in this place in the first place. I want to discuss the topic because, as you might observe in my channel, we have this series of videos which are the Seafarer Stranded in Manila mini-series. I made 4 of my earliest videos already, and including this video that you are now watching will be still a part of that series. So the person who was being stranded was me, and some seafarers who are now experiencing almost a similar story as I do. For now, I will be telling you my personal story regarding to our subject matter today, and I will be narrating the whole story in a timeline manner so that you may understand the drama behind it. Drama on why I did use this Seafarer Stranded in Manila as our mini-series title. I will also be reminding you guys that this will be a 2-part episode because it's a little bit a long story. So please bear with me, and I hope we can get some moralism out of it. So this is how it goes. It all started when my manning agent called me up in the middle of this ongoing pandemic, and that was in last April. Yeah, somewhere in April. They informed me about this upcoming offshore project that will be happening somewhere in Africa. And so, of course, I did accept the job. What are you going to expect from me? I've been laid off since August of last year. I guess even my crewmates are anticipating this project. I mean, I'm pretty sure we all expecting this project. But here comes the pandemic effect. I don't think if none of us had not been affected by this event, everybody, I mean, all over the world, we are being devastated by this, maybe the worst catastrophe of this century. Let's cross our fingers that nothing will add it up much worse than this. So going back to my story, I did book a domestic flight from my home province going to Manila. The flight was from Tacloban City going to Manila Airport. I did book the ticket for the first time somewhere in the end of April. Then later on, it was being cancelled by the airline company itself. So I was asked to rebook the date. That was the first cancellation. So instead of just changing the date of departure as per advice, what I did was I changed the location of the airport and the date. So instead of departing from Tacloban City Airport, I did replace it flying from Mactan International Airport in Cebu, going to Manila. I do that because at that time when I checked it in the airline website, the Tacloban City Domestic Airport has only one flight per day as compared to Mactan Airport who has three flights per day. This only during in this pandemic, but in the past that would not be the case. Then when it was just a few days before the flight, again I received an email sent by the airline company again, canceling the flight. That was the second cancellation. And so finally I did book the ticket flying on last June 19, 2020. It was Wednesday at the same airport. The departure time was around 8 p.m. By now you might think that was over. But no, we are just warming up, guys. Under the new normal guidelines, there are documents that you need to secure, or else authorities will not allow you leaving from your home residence. Much more traveling to the airport. So I did secure a bunch of travel documents, such as, bear in mind that it should be in order like this. The list are appointment letter from my mining company, barangay residence certificate, and barangay certificate for no PUM or PUI record, no COVID-19 record issued by the Municipal Health Office, then the Shield Task Force certificate issued by the Philippine National Police. So there are 5 in the list. 5. That's it. But I thought so. There is this one last thing that I need to secure when traveling nowadays. And I only learned this during the day before my flight. Okay, the day before my flight in Mactan Airport, it was Tuesday. I need to travel by a sea ferry from the province of Leyte going to the province of Cebu. And even that, the travel by sea will take only around 4 to 5 hours. I decided to leave from my home a day before my flight. I was already told that the ferry's departure time was 6 a.m. in the morning. So I leave my house at the early dawn and I arrive in the seaport an hour before that estimated time of departure. Then I bought the ticket, but before I will be issued with the ticket, the shipping company need to check my travel documents. So of course I showed them the copies of my certificates. I complied them all. But then the officer in charge of the ticketing said, "Sir, we can't sell you the ticket because you lack one document." My reaction was, what? I was like thinking to myself, after securing all the 5 documents, you are now saying that I missed one? One more document? So what is it? So then he told me that I also need to secure the acceptance certificate. I say it again, acceptance certificate. The officer from the shipping company explains it to me that it is issued from the place of my destination. So it is basically a letter coming from the authority where the place that I will be going in, informing them of my arrival. And in return, they will be issuing a certificate acknowledging that they are ready in accepting of my arrival in their place. Upon hearing this, I was like my world turned upside down. Imagine if how I am going to do that, and my flight was already been confirmed on the next day. There's nothing that I can do at that moment, but only to explain myself, ask for a little consideration given the situation. And luckily, with the help of this one friend of mine whom happened to be there as well, we tried to convince this nice ticketing officer. And later on, he listens and favored our request and issued me the ticket. After that, I seated in a departure area since the ferry was not arrived yet. The ship was still on the other side. But then we were told that there will be a delays in the arrival of the ships towards us. Like I said, the ship was still on the other part where was supposed our destination. The ferry was still in the Now City at that moment. Shipping officials was explaining that the ship has not sailed yet from there because of this, that, etc., etc. And so we waited until 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Then later on, the ships came. Right after clearing the cargoes, we've been allowed to get into the inside the ship. Before we get entered to the ship, there was a couple of personal authorities from the Philippine National Coast Guard and the Philippine National Police inspecting our document, writing our names to the logbook. Then we proceed inside the ferry. We waited again until our ship sailed around 4 in the afternoon. I remember that we did arrive in the Now City around 9 p.m. in the evening. That was Tuesday. When I arrived in the port of the Now City, there was no available transportation because it was past 8 o'clock already in the evening, and there was a curfew being implemented, and that time the curfew was already in effect. So all the passengers, including me, we were forced to hike from the landing port going to the main highway where the buses was supposedly waiting for us. My luggage was weighted around 18 kg plus my backpack, which was about 7 kilograms, and it took me around 1 or 2 kilometer walking distance handling all my stuff. By the time I arrived in the main highway, my shirt was very sweaty already. The sweats were pouring all over my face and my shirt. So I changed it. I changed my shirt with a new one. Then the long wait again, looking for the buses to ride on. And there are no buses, public buses passing by. It was 11 p.m. already. There were these big truck or trailers that are passing by, but no public buses around. We tried to flag down the trailers, but they are not stopping. Thankfully, there was this couple who lives nearby. They noticed us waiting for the buses in that highway. They told us that we can go to the nearest police checkpoint, which was just a few hundred meters away from where I was standing. And then I was told to ask for police assistance there. So we ran up to the checkpoint together with a bunch of ferry passengers. Arriving at the checkpoint, a police officer manning the station, who were a very good gentleman, he told us to sit down on the provided chair while awaiting for a possible trailer or private bus to hitchhike. After a while, we have been sent up one by one. It was this gentleman police officer who do the talking to the drivers. So some was sent to a trailer truck, some to a private car, and for me, they managed to send me into this small, tiny mini pickup truck. So I hopped in to the truck. and saluting to the police officers at that night. Shout out to the now City Police Department for doing such a good job there. Thank you, mga sir. So then, inside the mini truck, there was only the driver and I. I said if he can send me directly to the near to the Mactan airport, but he said no, only near around the Mandawi City. I persuaded the driver by paying him a good money if he sends me to the airport itself. And until a long pause, he declined to my offer. But at the end, I still did give him the money when he drops me off somewhere in the area of Basak in Mandawi. So while on our way to the destination, which the travel took us about an hour, I had a good chat with the driver. We are speaking in the Visayan language all the time, but later on, to my surprise, I learned that he was a practicing Muslim, which comes from the Maranao tribe of the Mindanao Island. I was surprised because I was originally raised in the island of Mindanao, and I know how Maranao people speaks. Even if they speak in the Visayan language, they will always have this distinctive way of speaking and the accents. They have this kind of accents, distinctive accents. But I never noticed his Maranao accents during the course of our conversation. He explains to me that he lives in the island of Cebu for quite some time, and that is why it slowly changed his accents over time. So then he drops me off to the destination. Actually, I forget to get his name, but I am grateful to you, Sir Driver, whoever you are. Daghang salamat. So it was past 1 a.m. in the morning in the dawn of Wednesday. In my mind, I need to find a check-in hotel since my flight is scheduled at 8 p.m. on that day. And so I took a taxi cab. I asked the taxi driver to send me to this particular hotel somewhere in Mandawi. He drops me off in the area where there was two hotels side by side, but to get inside the hotel, I noticed the lights were off all over the premises. Then I talked to the guard who was on duty at that night. I find out that they were out of business since April, including the next hotel beside it. Same thing happened. They were closed. So then I took a taxi cab again. I flagged down again and asked the driver to find me an available hotel somewhere in Lapu-Lapu City, near where the Mactan International Airport was located. Now imagine this. It took me 4 stops before we found the open hotel, which was the Island Stay Hotel. So I check in this hotel and sleeps the whole morning. I leave in the afternoon, then proceeds to the airport, which was just a walking distance from the hotel. When I arrived at the airport around 4 p.m., the duty guard did not allow me to get inside because of my flight, which was scheduled at 8 p.m. So I waited again in the outside lobby until 6 p.m. After that, I entered to the airport gate and checked in my luggage and got my boarding pass. Then after a while, I heard an announcement that my flight is been delayed for an hour. So I waited again until 9 p.m. I get on board to the plane and fly to Manila afterwards. Okay, arriving in Manila was also a long story. So I have to cut it off my story at this point. We will continue it to the next video, the story when I did arrive in Manila. As you heard it, as you can see in the timeline, my journey going to Manila during this pandemic was a bit painful experience. What you have only heard at this point was my travel from Leyte to Cebu. How much more when I was in Manila. So please watch for the continuation of my journey upon arriving in Manila. Only here in our YouTube channel, Accidental Seaman, a Seafarers Dokyu vlog. And I am hoping that you enjoy in listening to my story and somewhat get some moral lessons from it. If you find my story interesting, then give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I promise you that the continuation of this episode is more exciting because it was that moment that I started making these YouTube videos. So thank you for watching. See you on the next episode. Cheers.